When I pick up something like a headphone, the first thing I'm doing is feeling it out. Like, how does it feel? Its weight, how does it twist or flex, the colors, maybe move the slider, see what kind of rattles or noises it makes. Like, it's the first thing I do. And I think the biggest reason I do that is because we make headphones for a living. But now that I think about it, and I don't think about it because I do it instinctively, but I think I do it for everything I touch. It's just something I do.
Yeah, pretty much. Everything I see, every product, I'm always curious, how do they make that? Why is it made that way? And oftentimes there's a bit of a story behind it. We happen to actually make our stuff.
Yeah.
So we could talk a little bit more about the hows and the whys, because I think it's actually interesting.
Yeah.
It is a unique perspective because you're like, well, I think I know why they did it this way, but did they do it that way because of why I think they did it? I don't know.
Yeah, we hear that all the time. You know, we see people that talk about the product and might be the first time they've ever seen it. And they think something's strange about it, or they think something's fantastic about it, or whatever, or something curious about it. And, you know, I think in the fact that we manufacture something like this here in-house, and we make a majority of the components here, everything has a backstory. You know, I mean, there's a thought process involved in making it that we're aware of. And it's kind of cool to me, I guess, as being engineers, we have that curiosity in us when we pick something up that someone else made. Mm-hmm. What were they thinking? We're instantly thinking, why did they do it this way? Or, you know, what's the curve here? Or they could have done it another way, right? I mean, it goes both ways. And I'm sure the same thing occurs with our products when they pick our products up, right? And go, well, this is different the way I would have done it.
Mm-hmm. So, of course, a company is always a collection of people. And so that tends to mean that the people you have, they're going to have interests. They're going to have certain facets they find interesting or curious, and they're going to want to explore. And you often see this sort of like personality in the products. You see it sort of reflected in the hows and the whys. And we always try to take a very different approach to things. We're trying to make stuff that doesn't exist. And that means something, right?
Yeah.
So that's basically why
we don't want to do it like everyone else has done it, because we feel that if we dig into any component of a product, if we dig into it, really inspect, look at it, how can we make this better? We think we can. And we'll spend years playing with something that ultimately winds up in the product. Literally years. Sometimes it's only days or weeks, but the point is, right?
Depends what it is.
Yeah, it depends. But the thing, the thing is like, to us, it's kind of like a challenge, I guess you could say. It's a challenge to say, okay, how can we make this, rather than traditional methods, which sometimes that works, like, why reinvent the wheel? That's true. You gotta know when to say, okay, there's no reason to change.
Maybe,
this.
but we seem to struggle with that one.
Yeah.
It seems like most of our design philosophy starts with, wouldn't it be cool if? And then we kind of work off of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just thinking like of an example of something that's like that it's constrained by its function, so you can't really. A headphone is one of those, like, it still needs to be a headphone, right? So you can't just make anything too crazy. And another example of that would be like keyboards. They all have to work the same. They need the same layout and everything. But every brand, that's why they have them all in the store next to each other. You can try them out,
True.
See how cool. And it's nice that everybody tries to put their own spin, but they all need to do the same thing.
Yeah. Right. Well, that's the beauty.
In the end.
I think that's one of the reasons why we consider trying. Look at it this way: being unique is very challenging. Bottom line, it's easy to copy an existing idea, but to us that's boring. It's like, well, 20 other companies, 100 other companies, thousands of companies have done it this way. Does that mean we need to do it that way?
Well, it's kind of the sensible thing to do, too, as well.
It's the
from a
easy thing
business
to do.
perspective, it's the easiest.
Sure.
Often it's the most profitable because, well, most of the solving done for you.
Well, not necessarily. It depends. You
It
think
depends.
about it.
If you want to be a real winner,
if
you can
1,000
never
companies
do it
are doing the
that way.
same thing, then what segregates?
Correct.
What's the difference? What segregates you from those other companies? And that's what that's kind of where we are. It's like, well, how can we be different? And here's why I think what we found is, first of all, we manufacture a majority of the components of our headphones here in house. We have CNC machines, we have lasers, we have kilns, we have ovens, we have paint department. Okay, we make the steel headband in these Joels and Dianas, literally from scratch. Well, we don't make the steel, but
We buy sheet steel, and then we take it from that piece to a done headband assembly that you can't actually see it inside there, but it's covered by the leather.
Yeah, maybe we'll
And we
show
do
it
that
in
for a lot.
show it in a side video here. But yeah, the deal is we make that's just one part. that one part, that steel in there, that headband component, we've spent 7, 8, 9 years to where it is today, to get it to where it is today. It's a never-ending process.
Well, even though it looks very similar.
On the outside, it looks the same.
But like I could pick up original Diana all the way up to a Joel, and you could instantly tell all the changes
just by the feel.
The way it feels in your hand.
Yeah, because you assemble them.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
in the
holding
assembly
them
department.
all day,
you
every
deal
day.
with them. Yeah.
So,
And it's true though, and they are like that. And so on the outside they look different, and they actually aren't. If you actually put them side by side, the shape would be different.
Yeah, side by
on
side.
Today's models,
It's noticeable.
you know, but the feel is completely different, and that's what took so long, is that feel. And it's not, you know, and the deal is like we don't have a team of 100 engineers working on just the headband. We have you, Eric.
Unfortunately.
You know? Yeah. So and you have to share your time with many other tasks. So it's not something that's, you're not doing it 24/7. You're sleeping, eating, and dreaming about headbands all day long.
Well, sometimes.
But the point is that is a constant. That's one of the reasons why we bring all these things in house to do in house ourselves, is to be able to do that, to refine the process to a point that no other company would probably ever do. It just wouldn't exist. They'd be happy with the status quo. It's a headband, it's curved, it fits a head.
Yep. And that's always bothered me. I look at most products, and unfortunately it's kind of getting worse over the years. Most products to me look poor because they're unrefined, because you could tell someone went, or there was some pressure to ship it. And there's always refinements you could do, right? That's true of our products. That's true of any product. You know, there's always some claim you could make, oh, wouldn't it be nice if this was better? But you see it so often with products that they're just so poorly done, and there's so much room for improvement.
Yeah, and we completely understand it. I mean, we know that nothing's perfect. It's not possible. Yeah. But you can try to approach perfection in many ways. And it's expensive. It's time consuming, and
right. But it pretty much means, in order to do that, you have to make it yourself. You have to actually make it. You have to know what challenges do you come across in manufacturing of this part, so that we could solve the goal of making this perfection.
I mean, even in a headphone, like you think about like something as simple as the shape of the headband, how it twists, how it affords comfort. By bringing that ability to shape that piece of steel, to laser cut it in ways. I mean, you're dealing with that. I mean, just what's the backstory on something like that, on just a steel component of the headband internally?
It was a lot more challenging than I thought, and of course, it's a constant evolution. But this is, I don't know, maybe like the 100th iteration or something of the headband. We've only shipped a few of those iterations over the years, so sort of to the consumer, we made changes in chunks. But internally, it's constant.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Yeah, he kept trying them on everybody. It was like,
really,
are we still doing this?
Yeah, the goal is always like to understand, not necessarily how to make the product. It's what's the best process, what's the best product to make. Should the product even exist in this manner? Is there another way we could achieve the goal? So it's trying to understand the totality of the system to achieve the goal of holding the headphone on your head. And then with this understanding, in time, you could build a part, you could build a product that nobody else can make.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about bringing these processes in-house, we found. And it started with our original driver. Our planer driver. That's where it really started. We needed, when we decided 15 plus years ago we were going to design a headphone, right? We had nothing. We knew nothing. We just, we knew what a headphone looked like.
Sure.
We've had them. We've owned them. We barely used them, right? But the point is back then there was, we were still rolling off of, if you think about it, back in not that long ago. Headphones were very similar to they were in the 70s. It wasn't any different. Nothing changed, right? Relatively same. You had a cable coming out one side, it had 2 speakers and a curved band and some cushion on top and some ear pads, some sort of ear pad, which may or may not be easy to replace. But bottom line is that you think about the headphone, the way the tech has gone, it really didn't change it for decades. And that was something that, to me, when we decided we were going to make a headphone, I said, well, we're going to make a headphone like there was no other. Like it's got to have a cool factor. It's got to be different. It's got to be unique. It's got to be not like anything else. And that was the AB 1266 is what it ultimately got called, right?
Yeah, I remember it started with we making the driver because that was the most important thing, right?
Yep.
And then we didn't even worry about the frame. We just started out holding the drivers next to your ears. Remember that?
Yeah.
We didn't have anything else.
How can we make this sound like a pair of speakers?
So that's how it turned into what it eventually became, because that's
Yeah.
kind of how you were.
And fortunately, we had experience in listening to really good speaker systems and 2-channel systems over the years,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so we had a lot of experience in what it should sound like, what good sound can sound like. Now, the hard part is getting that out of a headphone. And so, but that's bottom line is that we had to bring that whole manufacturing process of the speaker driver in-house. We had to. We tried other people's speakers. They sucked. We tried stuff out of China, dynamic drivers, blah, blah, blah. It sucked. For a headphone, it sucked. And I knew the challenges with people who made speakers. I've worked with many speaker manufacturers. I worked for Bowers and Wilkins back in the day. I understand the challenges of designing a speaker, and it seems so easy, right? You've got a woofer and a tweeter.
Well, when you see the
and a
process already
crossover.
figured out, it doesn't look bad.
Right,
It's like,
but you look at all the iterations of speakers over the years, and there's nowhere near perfection in a loudspeaker, right?
they're a lot better than they
They've
used to be.
gotten
Though.
way better 50, 60 years later.
Yeah.
But see, that's the point. And even a company like Bowers and Wilkins, who's made speakers in-house for decades, they've built their own chassis. It's a constant evolution there too. But that's the cool part is Apple too. It's a very Apple-esque way where they tend to bring their engineering and they combine it with the design and the software to make a complete package that people want to buy. And so that's kind of the direction we took a long time ago. And it's funny, but you think about, we've also had to grow our size of our building over the years because we keep bringing more processes in the house.
Yeah, I think it's a very different approach. It's more of a systems approach. And I think it's the sensible way to do it, but it tends to be more challenging. We never wanted to make our products. We never wanted to manufacture the parts. Because initially coming into it, we literally never made a headphone before. So what a daunting task to be like, well, how do you make literally everything? Right? That's silly.
As many components as possible.
So we figured, well, we would find someone that would make this for us. We would work with them to tune it, and we would put it together.
And for a short time, we did have a machinist that made the parts.
We did,
that wasn't us.
And that's how most people do it. That's sensible.
And that was one of the reasons why we did bring it in-house.
Yep. That's
Too
how
many
it started.
problems.
Right. It was.
He's like, I'll get you
problems.
them then. I'll get you them the next week. I'll get you another. And we were never able to get the parts on the schedule we needed them. And
it wasn't only that. We wanted to do a more of a refinement process. We wanted to continuously refine.
Right.
And so we have to keep going to the guy that machined it goes, can you try this? Can you try that?
Yeah, right.
And so you got 2, 3, 4 weeks, a month later, you get another part, go, oh, okay, that
that
isn't
didn't
exactly,
work, yeah.
now let's try it again. Yeah, and it was just like, we can't deal with this anymore. And we bought our first CNC machine, which you had to learn how to program and the code for it and all that. It was a lot to know.
We run the thing. We do everything. We don't farm any of that out.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's
Now we
like a
do.
thing you should do or you should expect to do, but it's something that I think I felt we needed to do to understand the process well enough to be able to achieve the goal of delivering a good quality product to the consumer.
I mean, it was hard in the beginning, but now that you have all that base knowledge,
It was impossible.
Now
in
it's
the
like,
beginning.
Yeah, it was
oh,
damn
we
near
could
impossible.
change that like this afternoon.
I don't think most
Now.
companies would make it to that point. That you
No, they shouldn't. That's ridiculous.
Even if you hired a machinist, an experienced guy, you still need and a programmer.
Right.
So they got 2 people doing it, which is fine. You could do that. Which you've taken that you wear those caps at least. But even if you did, you still had to have someone tell them what they're designing.
Sure.
You have to design it, and it's actually that part of it to me. Rather than having a team of people making something like a headphone, I think it's easier to have a small group like the 3 of us inherently design it because we're so integrated in what we're doing, from the sound quality and the fitment and the capabilities of machining that we have, and the tooling. We could throw an idea. I could throw an idea by you, and you could say can't do it, or well, I could do it, but it's going to take this, this, and this, or no problem, we can make that all day long.
I mean, yeah. You get a nice tight-knit group and everybody knows what everybody's doing. But also, things can take longer because you only have so much time. It's split between a few people,
Yeah.
So,
I think that's been one of our biggest challenges. It's just you could make this perfect vision, but how perfect is perfect enough has been a constant challenge because it's pretty easy oftentimes to make something better than what you could buy. to make it so that it's a product that a consumer could actually buy is often more challenging. To make the company around it that makes a product profitably so you don't go out of business, that's quite challenging. But then to continue to want to iterate on it, it is really an impossible goal.
And, you know, we got the Joel's up here now, which is our latest model, and it's very comfortable headphone. And our early Dianas, going back 10 years ago, weren't considered to be terribly comfortable. And it's funny when you look at them, like the ear pads we had on those were smaller. They were a bit more stiffer, harder. They weren't as soft as they could be. You know, flexibility wasn't as there. And you look at that, like the original Diana back from, had to be, what, 7, 8 years ago, I think we made it.
Almost 10.
And it wasn't?
I think so.
Oh, yeah, 16. Yeah, I mean, you look at that and you go compare it to like this. And like, I mean, there's literally, I don't know how many millions of thought processes between that one and this one, right, to this new model. Millions, literally millions over the course of years. And it's so, just looking at it, it's so well refined. I think, because I'm thinking back to the old models, how so well refined, how everything that's been, you know, it's an integral system that you can wear on your head, and it plays music beautifully. And like, that would be very difficult for any one company to do, a large company to do. I mean, look at a company like Apple. They still are running the same over-ear that they originally came up with. They haven't
That is surprising.
refined that at all.
Yeah, I know.
Even the ear pads, nothing. The materials, nothing.
It's kind of shocking.
Yeah,
'Cause we take the opposite
first thing we
approach.
thought is, well, this is a beginner. They're
Yeah.
gonna do something here. No, they left it the way it is, and like, you know, wow, it is surprising. But obviously, you know, I could probably tell you why, because they have other priorities, and they've done that before. They do it with the Apple TV. You could see it. There's things that just products they come out with.
Well, yeah.
It works. It does the functions the way they want it to, and it stalls. It just doesn't change. We're not like that because our whole focus is headphones. And
Well,
so
yeah.
we're constantly evolving every part of this. And we can do that because we brought every process in-house to do them.
We're continuing to work towards iterating to perfection, at least our vision of it.
Yeah.
But it turns
And
out
we're
it's
gonna
incredibly challenging.
And we're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it. It's just going to keep happening. And things will continue to evolve, whether you like it or not.
Hopefully they like it.
Yeah. No, we're having a lot of fun here, too. Have fun, everyone. Take care of yourselves.